Mountain King roams all alone in here, but he's not the only one. Lost inside, forever hidden from the sun, madness reigns in the hall of the Mountain King. This is Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, Community Solutions Podcast, episode number 99. We are one away from making history here, buddy.
That's right. One away.
One away.
We know it's going to be a good show. That I can tell you straight up.
Oh, absolutely. The thoughts
surprise in for everybody.
Rattling around in my mind right now, but I need to be ready for game day. Today it's episode 99. This is what it's about here today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.
And I'm not even going to fathom a guess on who sings.
Yeah, you wouldn't get this one. Although it's not a new band, it's an old band from the 80s.
Let me take a guess. From the
late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, who do I know from then? Let's see. Roxette.
No. Really? They sang about the Mountain King? Maybe they're from Scandinavia.
Hey,
it's possible.
on the Joyride.
They're into the whole dwarf kingdom thing. I don't know.
Who else do I know? Motley Crue.
No.
I have no idea.
Closer on the genre, though.
Really?
Yeah.
It was heavy metal?
Is still. Amazing guitar player, John Oliveri. That won't help you at all.
The only amazing guitar players I know are Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page. So, who else is up there?
Well, this guy was pretty dang
Eric
good.
Clapton is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I assume it's not him, though.
No, it is not Eric Clapton. This is a band called Sabotage.
Sabotage.
Sav with a V. Sabotage.
They don't even spell the name.
Savage and Sabotage, like in one.
They don't even spell the name right.
Thing. So, I don't know. Great guitar player. It was kind of a mixed bag on the vocals, I guess. Some people really liked him. Some people probably didn't like him at all.
Willie Nelson type.
Yeah, just like Willie Nelson. You got it.
I love him. I think Willie Nelson's great.
He is good. I think his cover of Dave Matthews' Gravedigger is probably one of my favorites.
I don't know anything about that. All I know is On the Road Again, and he sang that Elvis song too. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I like that version. Don't tell my wife that. And singing some good duets with Waylon Jennings. So I mean,
can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong with Willie and Waylon.
No. Well, wow. Like I said, episode 99. We're not going to skimp on this episode at all. This isn't a throwaway as we prepare for episode 100. This is the real deal every week.
Episode.
We come with our A game every week. We come with fresh material. We're looking to give you guys the scoop on what's going on in Minnesota, and this week is no different.
Even if it pisses you off, we risk that.
We do. It's all right. Sometimes I get a little hot under the collar. I get a little riled up, and it's okay.
Well, like I said, I mean, we've had a handful of good and fun shows, and we try to mix the bad news, the things that are going to make you throw your phone or whatever you're listening to us on.
Yes.
You're definitely not going to be happy, but it's information that some stories here about our subject that need some big change as everything does that we talk about, and I think this is more fundamental though to me, Jay, than whether or not to have a sidewalk or whether or not to
right.
Not the other issues aren't important, but
yeah, we've done a lot of good shows on how you get taxed, on these special interest groups that are taking over and pushing their agenda across the state with all these cities. It goes deeper. I mean, this goes to the very core of how your government is set up.
Well, even set up more represented. I mean, we're going to talk about council vacancies and appointments because there seems to be a rash of them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Everybody's an economic conservative when it comes to holding a special election.
Yes.
I mean, even the Green Party, let's get rid of primaries because they cost too much. Well, you make me buy $25 light bulbs. You don't care about the cost of that. But when it comes to electing somebody, no, all of a sudden we're all fiscal conservatives, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
So, talk about a disingenuous argument.
Right.
Some people who've never met a spending bill they don't like, all of a sudden, when it comes to holding an election, have
they're worried about $3,000, but they'll write a bond for $3 million without blinking.
And they'll do it without discussion almost. And we should say, I mean, vacancies happen for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
People get elected to another office, they die.
They move away.
I mean, and, or, you know, you can even think at a higher level. You know, we recently had some vacancies because of resignations in Minnesota. You know,
Right.
Al Franken, Tony Koresh. There was another open Senate seat. I can't think of the person who was forced to step down with all the funny business or whatever was groping or galloping or whatever we call it today, touching people in naughty places, and then of course the appointment of Tina Smith.
Yes.
Resulting in a special election to have another election.
Yes.
And then, of course, the Senate seat that was vacated by Senator Fishbach. So we've had a whole rash of vacancies at those levels. We've seen them, in Congress and so. It seems like there's always a congressional race going on, or a Senate race. I mean, Jeff Sessions' seat, and so on and so forth. But interesting. And in fact, I want to bring up one other thing too. What is going on in Arizona? What is with Arizona state law?
I don't know.
Because John Kyle had been appointed by the governor. I forget the governor's name. Doesn't matter. When Senator McCain passed away. Kyle's decided he doesn't want to go anymore. So do you know who the governor appointed? Now, McCain got reelected in 2016.
Yes.
Okay, so this, I mean, technically his seat isn't up till 2022 if he were still there.
Yeah.
The governor appointed Martha McSally, the person who lost.
Right.
Very narrowly.
Yes.
So they appointed Kyle, and he quit. Or whatever happened.
Yes.
He wasn't, I don't think he was a long-term appointment anyway. So now McSally is in. So when is she up now to fill up the rest of Senator McCain's term?
We'll have to send a message to Mr. Governor Doug Ducey down there.
Doug Ducey. I just saw him on some morning show, too. I couldn't remember his name.
No.
What's going on there?
I don't know. I guess.
A senator? I mean, I have no problem if it's appointing a senator the way a senator is supposed to be appointed.
Right, the state is supposed to. I mean, traditionally, that is what happened.
The legislature had that.
Right. So the legislature would appoint a senator to represent the state against a growing federal government.
One of the reasons from 1776 to 1913 our federal government didn't grow very much.
Right. Right. Especially in power. There were times in Civil War and things like that where financially there was a lot of growth.
But it was repealed. I mean, one of the few things people don't know is that the first income tax we ever had was in the Civil War.
Absolutely, it was.
And it was repealed. President Lincoln had only there's I don't know I maybe shouldn't say this because I'm not 100% sure on the sourcing or anything, but President Lincoln did not want to sign this bill because of worry that it was a permanent tax.
Right,
and it was basically understood that this was going to be repealed. And guess what? The politicians, even during Reconstruction, actually repealed, and President Johnson, who was there by then, signed the bill. So both sides said, no, this is not, we're not using this as a vehicle to grow the size of government. This was a temporary measure to fight an emergency civil war, and it is not to be used in this capacity.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you think about...
That's senators looking out for their states, by the way, too. You know,
right?
You imagine a senator elected now. Oh, look at all this money we can.
Oh no,
we can bring this water project and this school building and this hospital. That's how the Democrats built their majority into the New Deal.
Right.
It really lasted till the 90s.
Well,
it was all bringing other people's tax dollars home.
I think it's funny. You know, you think about, especially the Democrat Party, and they're going through a huge change and reformation right now, going further to the left. When you have like Ocasio-Cortez, and you've got Beto, and you've got Elizabeth Warren, who is Bernie Sanders. I know it's technically an independent, but
Bernie Sanders to me is becoming a moderate Democrat, the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyways, I mean, you look at these people and it's like, well, they're definitely not my grandparents' Democrats. They're not FDR Democrats. FDR Democrats were radical compared to Grover Cleveland and Andrew Johnson, and it's night and day difference from that.
True, and it's amazing. I listened to there's a speech out there by President Kennedy.
Yeah.
He's talking about capitalism and lower taxes, and and it's a very famous speech. And if you read it, you'd guess Ronald Reagan or George W. or Donald Trump said that, and it was John F. Kennedy. And but that's unfortunately they've built identity politics, and the people who believed in capitalism with a social safety net, which would be my dad's generation. Don't understand what's happened to the party. That's not their base anymore. And some of them have left. I mean, some of them left under Reagan. Trump certainly got some of them. Gingrich and the boys got some of them in the 90s. Yeah. But
they're doing a fine job of getting rid of the rest of them now on their own.
Yeah, I know. But it's the... Anyway, back to appointments.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a whole nother series of books to be written.
Yes.
So anyhow, back to these appointments. So you've got all these appointments going on to otherwise elected offices.
Right.
But Jay, as we always know, the problems in Washington and St. Paul, where else do they exist? They exist at City Hall.
Right. They sure do. I mean, just for a moment, for all the kiddos that are listening to us at home, you haven't been taught this, you probably won't, but there is like a succession of power.
You mean civics?
Yeah, civics. There's a succession of power, and it has to be written into every level of government. I mean, as far as the president, something happens to the president, you have the vice president, you have the Speaker of the House, and so on and so on and so on. They don't have special elections for that. They have it figured out because somebody always has to be in control, just in case we're under attack and we need to make a decision right then.
Now, you're talking about presidential succession.
Yes, I am. Now, it changes. Now, like what we just talked about with senators, they're now elected, but if there's a vacancy, they're appointed by the state, and same thing happens at the House level.
And every state is a little different, I think, in how they can do this. And even congressional levels, I have seen special elections in the spring, and another election in November.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, not always. Well, you remember Scott Brown's eletion when
he
first you brought up Elizabeth Warren.
Yes.
Remember his the vacancy was created by the death of Senator Kennedy.
Right.
Now, I don't know what Massachusetts state law is. They had that election pretty quick.
They did.
If I remember, Kennedy died in August or September of 2009. I think Scott Brown was elected in like March of 10 to fill out his term. Now, for Kennedy, that's who Elizabeth Warren, of course, beat in 2012. So, everybody does it a little bit differently.
Yes, that's true. Everybody does do it a little differently. It depends on, if it's a federal office, it's guided by federal law. If it's a state office, it's guided by state law. If it's a local office, Well, it's still guided by state law.
If it's a local office, all hands are off.
Well, I mean, to a degree, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, that there are some options once you...
Yeah, but I don't like those options.
Well, some of them. I mean, like being a charter city, and we'll get into that.
I know that's where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, there are plausible solutions.
Okay, but you know what? We're getting to the point in some of these cities here where like half the members are appointed or more.
Yeah,
I mean, let's start with Champlin. Okay.
Okay.
Very nice city. I like that.
Beautiful city this time of year. Well, I mean, if anywhere is in Minnesota.
Ryan Karasik,
yes.
the mayor. Okay. Karasik got on the city council by appointment.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I mean, granted, he's been reelected since.
True, and he was reelected to the council.
Right.
I mean, he won, but appointment is how
he got on in the first place.
So, after winning a term,
yes,
Karasik decides to run for mayor. They have their election every 2 years for mayor. He wins. What does that create?
A vacancy.
Another vacancy.
Yep.
Instead of holding a special election, and by the way, at the same time,
yeah,
the Ward 2 member of Champlin moved out of the city.
Yes.
So they had 2 vacancies.
At the same time.
And what happened?
Appointment.
Appointment.
And where did those appointments come from, Andrew?
Where did they come from?
Yeah.
Is this a trick question?
No. I wish it were.
Oh.
Mayor Karasik brought them in himself.
Okay. That's where you're going. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I said this at the time, and it ruffled some feathers, but Karasik would have never made the move to mayor if he didn't have somebody in mind to replace him.
Right.
There's no way. No way he'd have done that.
Well, I mean, and look, obviously, because the person that replaced him is his next door neighbor. So you have, a good sizable chunk, 40% about of Champlin's power resides in 2 houses that are next to each other in Champlin.
And think about it like this.
Yes.
We know Ryan Sabis and Nate Truesdale, the other 2 members.
Yeah.
So 3 of those 5 got their start on the council by appointment.
Yeah.
Here's my question.
Majority. Yes.
Here's my question. When there's a vacancy, why do you have to appoint anybody at all?
Right.
Why can't you just say, okay, look, we're going to leave it vacant, and in 120 days we'll have an election? I mean, why do you have to appoint somebody?
Yeah. Well, all the possible 2-2 ties or
give me a break.
3-3 ties.
In New Hope, I don't think I've ever seen 2, which we'll get to in a second.
More than a 4-1 vote ever.
I think Dan Stonner voted, and Jonathan London's voted against a couple of things. Dan Stonner, when he was on the council, I think farted twice, and they took that as no votes. And that was pretty much it. I don't see a lot of 2-2, 3-3 votes. That's just me, but I don't see very many. But that's pretty much what happened. So, and even if there is a 2-2 vote, so what? You can bring something up. A 2-2 vote means the motion fails. I mean, so you can. Why can't you bring it up later when somebody? I mean, look. And you go back to New Hope. John Elder was appointed back when he started.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what is going on with these appointments? I mean, what is this disease that prevents people from having a special election? I don't get it.
Well, and it always seems to work in the favor of, whoever's in the majority, which usually are people that want to spend a whole bunch. Going way back to my first interactions with city councils, and talking way back, like our origin story where the whole County Road 81 fiasco, I remember that when I started looking into all this stuff, there was one guy that disagreed with the people on the council at the time, and he ended up moving away to a different state. And the person that they that they appointed, keep in mind, if you're familiar with our story, if not, go back and listen to it. I think it's episode 1. I think we laid it out. It's why we do what we do, or something like that. We talked about how I had organized a meeting down in the basement of the VFW, told everybody what was going on with this project. We filled city council up standing room only. And 99% of the people in that room were angry as could be and did not want this change to happen. There were 2 guys that spoke in favor of it that lived along County Road 81, supposedly. This one guy thought it was the greatest thing since sliced hoagies. And guess who got appointed to that vacant seat? It was that guy.
Now, whose seat was that?
What was his name? Lindsey Krantz or something like that. Or this is a long time ago, man. I don't know.
Wow.
Been doing this a long time. So
well, it was interesting you brought up Crystal, because remember when Gary Grimes got very ill,
yes,
and had to resign. Gary's okay now, but I mean, he had to leave the council because of a bad illness. That was in like the springtime or winter of 2010 ish. I mean, I don't recall the exact date. We had an election coming up. A primary in August and an election in November. They still had the need to appoint somebody.
Yeah.
Why did they appoint somebody?
Well, I'll tell
Julie
you
Deshler eventually won it.
Right.
But
against the incumbent, by the way.
That they
newly
appointed.
incumbent, yes.
I can't remember his name. Tim Hoppy.
Yeah, H-O-P-P-E. Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
But, you think about it, it's like, okay, well, there were a bunch of people who threw their hat. All right, you know what? We got a primary coming up in August in a couple of months. We'll just let this play out.
But if you remember, Tim Hoppy, I believe, was pro all of the stuff that we rail against.
He was on the Environmental Quality Commission.
Yep.
That's what I remember.
I remember that. I remember that he was in favor of certain types of development that planners were pushing. And
now, keep in mind, he probably only served about 6 months.
Right.
I don't know what would have happened had he served for a long time. I have no idea.
Right.
But it's clear he was appointed because he fit the ilk of the people who were there.
Yeah, which is amazing. They are so afraid to have a dissenting voice, a lot of these city councils. They appoint people just like them, even though they already have a vast majority of the vote.
Well, they can't allow any, most intolerant people on the face of the earth. I mean, we all know who they are.
Right.
If they disagree with you, they try to shut you up.
Yes.
So, no surprise there. I mean, believe it or not, I actually pondered putting my name in for that.
Yeah.
But we had already made a name for ourselves by then. And I just, I just wasn't going to. And I would have bombed the interview then.
Right.
Today, I would know how to finagle that, and I still couldn't hide. I mean, my name I can't hide, but I probably would have come in and said, "God, you people suck. I hate all of you." But but I wasn't ready to run for something then. So point being, at least Crystal took applications.
Oh, they did.
Some of they asked the stupidest questions too. And by the way, why is that fair to sit there and have people on the council filter? Because I remember Julie Deshler showed me the questions she was asked.
Yeah,
and they were all development type, issue type, trying to get a feel for where you stood on this and that. Is that the criteria for an appointment? I mean, should the criteria be maybe somebody who, understands financial matters, not whether you agree with them or not,
right? But
understands them, gets zoning and gets, how government works civics-wise and commissions and charters and city codes and knows all that stuff. I mean,
yes.
Forget whether you agree with them or not. If you're going to set a standard, because, we have no idea what the standards were for an appointment. Mm-hmm. Of course, the work sessions weren't recorded back then.
No.
We have no idea what led to that appointment. No clue.
No, you don't. And they choose people in the end that...
I think they choose people they can control.
I think in a lot of cases they put somebody up to run, and that's the person they choose, and they make it look open with the application and interview process.
And I don't know that happened in Crystal, but I think it's happened some other places.
Well, I can tell you with the one that, the first one that I was talking about, I mean, that's
What seat was that? What seat was that? Ward 3?
Yes, that would have been Ward 3. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Huh.
So the guy just happened to win that agreed with them in this meeting. So,
what do you want to bet the former mayor probably had a lot with pushing that person?
Probably. Hey, I like how you think. Why don't you, we have a vacancy. Why don't you come apply?
Her boyfriend happens to be on the council.
Yeah.
Everybody else, all the men who are in her testicle lockbox are all there. I mean, is anybody ever going to? Nobody ever stood up to her that I saw until at the very end.
Yeah.
So probably, I'm going to guess that's what happened, even though I can't prove it. I'll admit straight out we can't. But
right.
Yeah, I'm sure they weren't going to take somebody who didn't like them.
No.
Now, interesting what's going on in another city we're very familiar with.
Yes.
Not Small Lake.
No.
Big Lake.
Yes.
Now, we need to set the stage, Jay.
Okay.
A little bit with what transpired since Election Day.
Yes.
The mayor,
mm-hmm.
We had our friend Paul Seefeld on the program, and he lost by a very narrow margin to the Sherburne County seat. So the mayor of Big Lake is the one who won it.
Yes.
I forget her name.
Rand Danielowski.
That's it. It's too long of a name for me to pronounce anyway. So the mayor's seat became vacant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the mayor, she had been re-elected in 2016.
Yes.
So 2 years left on the term.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
And you'd think a special election to put the mayor, it's a little bit more important, would be called for. But I understand it was not called for.
No. And let's set the stage a little further. I mean, the Danielowskis, her and her husband, were both former mayors of Big Lake, from what I understand. He ran for the county commissioner seat and lost. Rayanne then ended up running for it and winning. I believe reused his signs because she couldn't come up with an original idea. And then... and so there's like this group of people that they have organized that seem to follow other people on like the Big Lake Forum and all that, and they're very loud, and they seem to have their messaging down, and they shout people down, and they ask questions to make people think that something is going on when it's actually what their people are doing in the first place. You know how that works in government, right?
Unfortunately.
So, anyways, and this is important a little bit, but and I'm getting there. So we had these vacancies, or we had this mayoral vacancy, but not yet. This was still during the lame duck period. Rayanne was still the mayor. And they decided that rather than let the new council decide how this was going to work, that they voted to appoint a mayor from within.
Well, and it's just as bad when you actually look at their discussion. They had a discussion Wednesday night, December 19th.
Yes.
Okay. Here are the pros and cons. Appoint the mayor for the rest of the term. The pros: very little cost. Occurs quickly.
Oh.
Cons: not directly chosen by the voters. Well, that's...
Wow.
No, that's no big deal.
No.
Appoint mayor until special election. Why do you have to appoint somebody?
Yeah.
Though they only could have one pro to that, and that was that the mayor's chosen directly by the residents.
Okay.
They came up with as many cons as they could possibly could.
I think that there's probably at least 4 of them. Oh, wait, sorry. That you weren't talking about the city council itself.
Oh. Actually, there are 4 cons.
Yeah.
Will cost $6,600. in staff time. Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Is the staff paid more for a special election?
No.
So then, if they're not getting paid more, why is it a cost?
Well, I mean,
aren't they paid to do their job?
What they're figuring out is the number of like full-time employee hours that will be devoted to that. So they're ascribing a cost to it because that's where their time would be focused. And
okay,
so,
but are they not getting paid? Are they taking a $6,600
no.
pay cut?
It's not any extra. They're not pulling overtime.
I see.
Yeah, no, that's just during their normal work day. This is how much it would cost them.
Here's my favorite: low voter turnout in a special election.
Whose fault is that? Is that the fault of the voters? Is that the fault of?
There's low turnout, so we'll just cancel it.
Yeah, let's improve on low voter turnout by having no voter turnout.
Here's another good one.
Yeah,
challenge to get a mayor in the interim. What?
I don't understand.
And I like this one too. Possible need for special election if a council member wins.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately,
so hold on. I want to explain that one. So what they're saying is, if a council member, if they had a special election and the council member, a sitting council member won the mayoral seat, it would create a second vacancy on the city council where they would have to have a second special election, which would cost them just as much in money they were already spending.
I didn't quite follow all that, but I agree. Even though I didn't follow it all.
No, I mean, that's what they're saying, is that if they have a special election for the mayor race and somebody on the council wins it, there's another vacancy that they have to possibly have a special election for. So they can't pay for two special elections because that's just crazy.
I guess.
So instead,
they're just going to appoint. So then,
yes.
And here's the real sort of, I don't know, sort of tragedy of it is that they appointed somebody on the council which created the same vacancy that they were complaining about.
Right. They decided they were just going to promote somebody off the council. Sure, that person might have some experience being on the council, but that doesn't mean they're a fit mayor. Doesn't mean that they know how to run a meeting. Doesn't mean that they know how to pull together an agenda. What it does mean is they get about a $2,000 raise.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and now here's another thing. It's the lame duck council that's doing this. This is another problem I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, why is the former council deciding the makeup of the next council?
It shouldn't be, but they do all the time.
And what do you want to bet? What do you want to bet? I'm going to throw this out to the commissioner-elect. Or I guess she probably has been sworn in
Probably by now, because they meet daily. It's a full-time gig.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure they met a few right after New Year's.
Yeah.
Was this the plan all along? I mean, think about it for a minute. Do you think the mayor would have run? Again, sometimes I give these people too much credit.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think she would have run not having any idea who would replace her? Or how it would be done?
Let's switch that around. I think she would have run, but I don't think she would have not found somebody to replace her.
It's a double thing.
Yes.
She had to have it in the back of her mind.
Mm-hmm.
If I win, who takes my place?
Right.
Second, the fact that somebody allegedly just volunteered to do this, and everybody just sort of agreed. Are you telling me that wasn't a setup?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, this is Tammany Hall corruption.
Yes.
I mean, corruption I don't think is a bad word to use. I mean, this is basically, okay, I got a friend on the council, and me and that person make up 2/5 of the. They get one more person, then they can do whatever they want to. So,
right.
if I win, this person, just happens to volunteer. I'm sure he decided right then that he was going to just volunteer to do it, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, he becomes the mayor. That creates an opening, and guess what happens now? They appoint another person with no applications, no... I mean, where did this person come from? How is this person told, hey, would you like to be on the council? Okay, show up, Tuesday night, January 15th.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, it was not an open process, for one. They got together, and in their work session, they discussed the whole deal, and they went to the city council meeting then, and there was a disagreement about appointing it all versus having a special election. It was a 2-2 vote. You had Paul Kinnear and Dick Backlund, who voted against having an appointment and wanted to have a special election, and then you had the current mayor and one other that were voting. Seth Hansen, yeah, and Mike Wallen, the mayor, who voted in favor of having an appointment over a special election. So, doesn't pass. They set up a special meeting, which would have been this last Tuesday, the 15th of January. And so in that time, there were, between that meeting and this meeting, again, this group that supports the former mayor, Rayanne Danielowski, was all over social media saying some of the most insane things that I've ever heard about how it was... It basically threatened our republic to have an election. If the council is so worried about finances, why are we spending money on an election? Let me tell you something, America, Minnesota specifically, but this is a good lesson for America here. One of the most basic functions of government is to provide the ability for people to elect their leaders. That is one of the.
It's not bike lanes.
No, it's not bike lanes, which is another issue I have with Big Lake. But it is not that. It is not to create TIF districts. It is not to raise people's taxes. It is not to figure out how much money you can spend. It is not to look cool on public access TV. And you know what it is? Basic function of government is to preside over and allow for the freedom of choice when people decide that they want to vote for person A or person B. That's it. I mean, there are other basic functions, roads, streets, are basic functions. But this goes to the quick. This is the core of American government. We elect our leaders.
But I mean, I agree, but I still come back to, how do they get away with this?
Well, Minnesota statute, of course, because our state has laws that are written by I don't know who. They don't have a very good understanding of civics either.
Like that's taught anymore.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, these people should know better. Most of them are older than us by quite a bit.
Most people are older than us.
Well, yeah. So if you look at the Minnesota statutes, it's 412.02 city elections, officers, terms, vacancies, city employees. And then you go down to subdivision 2A, talking about vacancies. Here's what it says. Except as otherwise provided in subdivision 2B, a vacancy in an office shall be filled by council appointment until an election is held as provided in this subdivision. In case of a tie vote in the council, the mayor shall make an appointment. If the vacancy occurs before the first day to file affidavits of candidacy for the next regular city election, and more than 2 years remain in the unexpired term, a special election shall be held at or before the next regular city election, and the appointed person shall serve until the qualification of a successor elected at a special election to fill the unexpired portion of the term.
So, in New Hope, how did they get away then with Lamley resigning in the summer of 2018, and an appointment without a special election this year? Was the filing period over? Was that what they did? That was it.
Yes.
They waited for the filing
did.
period. That bastard waited for that filing period to be over to prevent a special election from happening.
Absolutely, he did.
New Hope, the most corrupt, despicable city council on the face of the earth.
Yeah, because it goes on
Hey,
to say-
Kathy Hempkin, please shave your mustache. All right.
Well, okay. I don't know.
Andy
what
Hoff, you could maybe wake up if you're at a city council meeting. That might be nice.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, I went out. There's my tangent.
I'll finish this little vacancy part. If the vacancy occurs on or after the first day to file affidavits of candidacy, which is what we're talking about, for the regular city election, or when less than 2 years remain in the unexpired term, there need not be a special election to fill the vacancy, and the appointed person shall serve until the qualification of a successor. The council must specify by ordinance under what circumstances it will hold a special election to fill a vacancy other than a special election held at the same time as the regular city election.
All right, I'm just more confused.
Okay, let's break this down little bit by little bit. So
there's more than 2 years left.
Yes.
And the filing period is not ended.
Yes.
A special election has to happen
Yes.
that year to fill the remaining, say,
Yep.
2 years on somebody's term.
That's what it says. It shall be held.
If it happens one day after that,
Yes, like New Hope. Yes.
an appointment can serve the remainder of that.
It can. Yeah. Or there has to
But
be.
they can have a special election if they want to.
They can.
Okay.
Now, they have to file a resolution, it sounds like, if they want to have a special election before the next general election, which is kind of, and we'll get into how this went down as we continue the story, but that's exactly what that means. And if there is a tie, it sounds like the mayor can appoint whoever he or she wishes.
So, but the mayor is part of the tie,
Yes.
which is also not fair.
Right. Because we're dealing with a weak mayor
Okay,
system
that's
here.
like, you know what that's
Yeah.
the equivalent of? You got the manager of the Twins. We're playing the White Sox. There is a tie after 9 innings.
Yeah.
And one of the managers gets to appoint a winner.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Oh.
Now, the home team can just declare themselves the winner.
Yeah. So yeah, that is how that works.
So to finish the story in Big Lake.
Well, I just want to say this is the state law.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yes, it's
Terrible.
Sucks.
Let me talk. I know I'm doing a lot of talking directly to people here.
well,
All of you who serve in the Minnesota Senate right now, who have control of the Senate, who are supposed to believe in small government values, in direct elections, in the rights and of the people to be able to self-determine, do something about this, okay?
not going to
I
happen.
mean, subdivision
Not gonna happen.
2A
Didn't
of
happen when
41202.
So it didn't happen when a certain party was in charge the last 2 years, did it?
No, but put it out there. We should not be dealing with appointments. Cities, counties, schools should be forced into having special elections, except in some very special cases, I think, where... But like you say, when it gets too close to an election, I mean, why appoint at all? I mean, other than to create somebody who has the title of incumbent so that they can have an advantage.
Right, and somebody to rubber stamp whatever they want.
Yeah.
Funny story too. District 281. Do you remember when Jonas Bugan got on the board? I liked Jonas. He was all right.
Yeah.
Somebody moved out of the district. He came on and decided not to run when his time was up.
Okay.
And he actually ended up being pretty independent of the rest of the.
Yeah.
I just always found it funny that one of the guys looking out for taxpayer dollars actually did a better job than the people who were elected to do it. Like I remember specifically when Stan Mack retired, he was the only person to vote against a hiring firm to come in to bring in when Sicoli got hired.
Yeah.
And the only person who voted against it was the one guy who wasn't elected.
Yep.
I mean, it was just very strange to see him arguing for the tax dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't
What
stop
would've-
him the rest of the time he was there.
Well, but I mean, he could have
yeah.
just voted for it. Nobody there would have blinked.
No.
And he actually made a smart argument. And
Yeah.
so it's just, I don't know. It just, but appointments are just, I mean, it seems like every time you turn around, there's an appointment.
Yeah.
And to finish the story in Big Lake, they just appointed some lady who ran last time.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there was this buzz on the ground with all the Rayanne Danielowski people, and they were like, you know, it's subverting the will of the people to hold an election. Special elections cost too much money. You should just appoint Rose Johnson, who came in third.
Didn't it say vote for the top two, not the top three?
Yeah, that's what it said. That is what it said. So there was this whole deal. There was the tie, and then in between all of this hubbub, and they had this special meeting last. Well, it would have been 2 days ago from when we recorded this. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of interesting that the indications on the table were that they were going to this is what the mayor and Seth had wanted was to make an appointment, but to go through an application and interview process. I mean, that's kind of where they were moving toward, away from just a straight-up appointment. So it would at least be an open process. People from the community that
They'd at
were
least
interested.
be pretending.
Right. It would have the appearance of, obviously.
Because clearly with what they did, they were pretending there.
Right. They knew what they wanted to do since the beginning. I mean, they had put this person up to run anyways. And so, she served on the EDA and stuff like that. And so she was known within council circles. This wasn't some dark horse coming out of nowhere. But so what happened is they get into the meeting, and remember, it was coming out of this a 2-2 last time around, and so they could stay strong on this, and push it off. Mayor gets up, Mayor Mike Wallen, and starts grandstanding.
I'll call him the acting mayor. I'm
Yeah.
not going to give him the title of mayor.
True. I mean, he's not elected. He's appointed. Started grandstanding and said something to the effect of sometimes it's time to go fishing and sometimes it's time to cut bait, but right now it's time to go fishing.
He clearly never catches anything.
No, he doesn't. He's the guy that it got away, but it was this big, and it's never as big as what he says it is. He never comes home with any fish, though, apparently. Anyways, so he grandstands. They take a vote, and surprise, surprise, the vote is to make a direct appointment. That was the motion that was on the table, not to go with the interview and application process, definitely not a direct election. Paul Kinnear is the only one that stood fast in that and did not go the route of everybody else. Dick Backlund either was asleep during the vote or folded like a cheap suit. I don't.
What pretzel?
That's a little unclear, but...
I don't know. Maybe somebody greased his palm.
Well, that's possible. Or not greased his palm, but at least put some pressure on him. That happens even in municipal politics,
it happens very much.
where people who have influence in the community might say a thing or two that will get somebody to rethink their position a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to finish the story. I will get through this. So after they decide to appoint, Rose Johnson is appointed. She is sworn in on the spot.
So let me get this straight. They didn't know if they were going to appoint or not. She just happened to be there, and they just happened to have somebody to appoint as the next motion.
Yeah. She just happened to be there. So
It could be an open meeting violations here.
it's possible. I mean, if they talked about this at all behind the scenes.
Obviously, they did.
I mean, obviously, talking to Rose, that's not an open meeting violation because she's not elected. You don't have a quorum with her. But in this case, if three of them communicated about this in any way, shape, or form via email, through proxy,
you and I should confiscate those. We can request that.
Yeah.
We can request all council communications. I want another special prosecutor. Not only did New Hope burn down that building, we got one for New Hope burning down that building, and we got another for this corruption here. I want the acting mayor. And I want their emails right now.
Yeah.
I want all of it. I want all the communication between them because this is clearly a setup.
Right.
If this isn't a setup, how does this happen?
Well, it sure seems really organized, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know. She happened to be there. They swore her in. Sat her down at the dais, and
she got to vote on something.
She did. They held another vote that evening, and it was about whether to have a special election later or
Paul Kinnear had suggested the spring. I think.
Yeah, he wanted to have one in May, and the opposition decided that they wanted to wait till the general election in 2 years. So. You have two appointed members that would be serving out a half a term, a full 2 years till the next election. So next general election, you're going to have 4 out of 5 people up. I just want to put that out there.
Right.
4 out of 5 of your city council. I think that's right.
It'd be the mayor.
It's at least 3 out of 5.
Paul Kinnear is the only person I believe not up.
Sorry, that's maybe not true. Let me check on that. But
doesn't matter. Anyway. Oh, wait a minute. You're right. It is only 3.
Yeah. Right, because one of those seats.
Wallen's seat would be up, and that's Rose Johnson.
Yes.
Rayanne's seat would be up, and that's Wallen.
Right.
And then Seth's seat is up again also.
Yes, that is exactly it. So it was not an open process.
So let's kick the bums out. There's 3. There's 3 turkeys that have to go.
Right. So she was, obviously she was seated so she could vote on when to have this special election for her own seat. And, of course, she voted for 2 years, not in May.
I'm shocked.
So she didn't recuse herself. She didn't say, you know what, it would be in my best self-interest not to vote on this. I want to be above board. I want to be transparent. I mean, from what I hear, she's a nice enough person, whatever. People like working with her.
This is politics. Nice people get run over.
Right, exactly, But I'm sorry, but if you're voting on the length of your own term, you should recuse yourself. You should not be voting on the length of your own term. Yeah, I think I'd like to stick around forever. How about that? Let's put that on the table. It's ridiculous. They did not open up this process at all. And there was a case to be made. I'm not even saying he wanted to run because I haven't really talked to Paul about it. I mean, a little bit after it opened up, I kind of needled him a little bit, I'll be honest. But I don't know if he was going to run for this.
Paul
if it was
Seefeld,
open. Paul Seefeld.
Okay.
And just so that you know, I mean, they wanted to say, Rose Johnson was the third highest vote getter. She should just be appointed. Well, Rose Johnson got 1,167 votes in the city of Big Lake. Paul Seefeld, who ran for the county commissioner seat, I'm doing some math in my head right now, but if we look at the 3 precincts in Big Lake City, Paul got well over that. I'll just do some quick math. In Big Lake City Precinct 1, he got 462, plus over in Precinct 2, he got 349. This is great radio, isn't it, guys? And then in Precinct 3, he got 835, which is a total of 1,168 votes. So I would say that there's no gimme in that. To just say, hey, she should be appointed because she was third in that race.
She didn't get appointed for that reason. She got appointed because she's going to part of this group. She's going to go along with whatever they want.
That's exactly why. But I mean, if you're just looking at numbers, I mean, that's why these people can't be intellectually honest, and they want to say that they have all these great reasons for wanting to do something, and it's not the way it seems. Not at all. They want to. They don't want to tell you why they really want to do this, but they'll come up with all the reasons under the sun, even though there are other things out there that would prove that they're being intellectually dishonest.
Well, and who's to say that? Look, a person winning a special election with 25% of the vote out there is more legitimate than anybody getting appointed to anything.
Yeah,
let's just say that straight out.
Right.
I mean. What a joke.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But, I mean, that's what we're faced with. And this happens all over the state. All over the state. And I think that, in fact, I mean, it's the norm. I mean, people don't want to run these special elections because it means that it opens the process up to people that they don't.
Yeah, and a low voter turnout, too, can really work to the advantage of a candidate that they don't like.
Right. And sorry, my math was off. I forgot to hit the equal button. Paul actually got 1,646 votes in Big Lake City versus Rose Johnson's 1,100 plus. So, I mean, if you want to play that game, that's,
They don't want to play that game.
No, they don't. but all over the state, I mean, that's what we're faced with. I mean, people make appointments all the time. They don't think that special elections should be held.
Well, and even more egregious than that is just turning around and appointing somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll be the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, George,
let's
take the gavel.
Shuffle around the deck chairs.
I mean, just the fact that they can do that alone is, and at minimum, not open the process up like that is despicable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the Big Lake City Council, with the exception of Paul, I don't know how they look themselves in the mirrors. They're a disgrace.
Yeah, after pulling something like that. But these are the same folks that, with their bicycle advisory committee that has no business being an official government advisory committee. It should be a private club that petitions government. Why is in this area that is very conservative, do you have a city council that is pro-bonding, pro-bike paths, pro-appointing?
Same reason we always talk about. The blank goes downhill.
Yeah.
Who fills it up?
Well,
we all know.
We all know. Yeah.
So, I mean, the folks that are for that stuff, are pretty ruthless about getting their people in. So, it just underscores yet again for the 99th time what we're doing and why we do it, why we kill ourselves doing this stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. There is just so much corruption in the system, and for us to just let it sit, I mean, we couldn't let it sit in Crystal, and then we found out it was going on everywhere, and we can't let it sit. I mean, Minnesota, we can do better than this. It is, I don't know. I don't understand why we take this view of just, it's local politics. It's not that important. It doesn't matter who runs it. There are more tax dollars being spent across the state at the local level than there is by the state itself.
Mm-hmm. Not even close, to be honest.
Not even close. So what are you guys doing? I'm not yelling at you guys, our listeners. I'm yelling at Minnesota in general. We have to take this more seriously. We have abdicated our responsibility to a whole level of governing because it's not important enough. To be a city council person, it doesn't carry the same grandeur as being a state senator. You know, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Well, I mean, you know, the sexy jobs are the sexy jobs, and I think so many councils feel like they have to justify their own existence. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's you know, one city has this, so we have to have this. That mentality is all out there, and it's not going anywhere. So, you know, the constitutional folks who take their oath seriously and understand the limits that are supposed to be placed on government are vastly outnumbered. They're not necessarily outnumbered out in the real world, but for those who have a microphone, they are very outnumbered.
Yeah, they are, you know, but this is coming, I mean, this is what's happening across the state, but there are things I think that we can do, like real world solutions where, you know, we have the options here. We look at the state statute, and if it is within the filing deadline or sooner, you're supposed to have a special election. If it's one day after, you can appoint. Well, maybe we need to think about rethinking that whole process. Of course, that's going to take a little willpower and a culture change. It would be nice to have the state law changed, Minnesota State Senate, but even if we don't, if we put the right people in the local offices, they will have the right mindset that, you know what, the people need to vote on this. It's 2 full years. The people need to vote on this.
Well, and ultimately, cities need to have their own charter to write this in.
Well, that's true, and that's what we didn't talk about. Like, if you have a city charter, which is like the city constitution, you can outline in that charter, this is how vacancies get filled.
Right, and it has to be within state law.
It does. You can't go nuts. But
well, what I mean by that is that if the state law says that there has to be an election with more than 2 years, you can't write a city charter that contradicts that.
Right.
What you can do is make that 2 year 1 year, or 6 months, or
absolutely.
That way, the city council doesn't have a choice when this matter comes. The process is right there and laid out. It's kind of like signing a treaty with Guatemala. You sign the treaty, 2/3 of the Senate doesn't pass it.
Yep.
It don't go anywhere, and it's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's ultimately what has to happen is that we need charter cities that will spell out this process. The shenanigans like this can't happen. As long as state law stays the way it is, as long as 80% of our cities are statutory, we have to elect the right people and rely on them to do the right things.
Right. And why would you want to trust the state with how your city is organized and run? They can change their mind at any time, pass a bill, put it in a state statute, and everything changes.
But, I mean,
why would you not take control of your city and create a charter?
Well, and Big Lake, I mean, this Mike Wallen guy, would you buy a car from him? I mean, what the heck?
No, I wouldn't.
There's corrupt. There's no other word to call it. This is Tammany Hall.
Nepotism. You appoint your friends. The people you know agree with you, because then there's no dissension.
Right.
There's no dissension. The people are happy. You keep your power.
And I do think Paul Kinnear is going to make some head waves here.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to try to isolate him as much as possible. That's just my thinking.
Well, that's the way it normally goes.
Well, he's going to have to stand strong on this, and he's going to need some partners.
Yeah,
to get in there.
So all y'all better be thinking about 2020 now.
You all in Big Lake better be eyeing 2020 or getting somebody you know to run. Get them on a commission right now.
Yes.
Pick somebody to that you want to put in office, because like I said, you got the 3 up next year, and that's the time where you have Big Lake needs to have their Crystal 2014.
Yes.
Needs to happen in 2020.
Absolutely. And I can't stress that enough. Get on an advisory commission now. Start building that resume. Start building that real-world experience. Start building your connections with the community you live in.
And if you don't, at least you stayed at a Holiday Inn last night.
Well,
No, I'm sorry.
goodness.
I'm on like hour 20 today, so
Yeah,
I'll be a
that's
little
okay.
playful.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much right there with you. All right, well, there you go. I mean, did we deliver or what? Episode 99 definitely wasn't filler material, was it? I think we gave you guys a real good look into the whole vacancy process, appointments and special elections, what you should do and why, and how to change it. This is important stuff.
Yeah, it's a big show. It's not like, the second to last episode in a year of, Knots Landing or something like that. I mean, we put the same effort into every show, okay?
Knots Landing. Where
know.
did I dig
Fantasy
you up
Island.
from? You were like in a time capsule when I found you.
It's after 1989. I don't know it.
Oh. So, yeah, we're coming back 1 week from today with episode 100. You are not going to want to miss this. You are going to want to get all your friends and family and colleagues, and you're going to want to call the dog catcher and the cable guy to come over and listen to this episode, because I can tell you right now, it is going to be inspiring. This is going to be one of our more positive ones.
Too. There's still milkmen around?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Why were there? Why did did it come directly from the farms?
I
or
think
something?
so.
Is
Yeah.
that why there was
I think that was kind of how it worked in the glass bottles, right out of the udder, right into your mouth, more or less.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's came right from the cows, who went right into the.
yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that Polish guy I saw on the street. I'm going to tell an ethnic joke here.
Oh boy.
Polish guy I saw get killed. Did I tell you about this?
No.
He was drinking milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the cow fell on him.
I think you've told that one about 3 times on this show.
Oh, I have not. Have I really?
I don't know. Maybe.
I probably told you it one-on-one.
Oh, maybe. Oh.
If I did, it's a good joke. Use it.
It is. Yeah.
Better than Yo Mama jokes.
Yes. All right. So there you go. Episode 99.
How about this ethnic joke?
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Gee whiz, we're going to be here till...
That's the only thing anybody's going to talk about if we tell naughty jokes.
Yeah. So, episode 99 is in the books. You got some stuff to do, Minnesota. You got some stuff to work with. You see this kind of stuff going on. You see appointments happening. You see people who are not... They're playing fast and loose with... I don't want to say the rules because the state of Minnesota allows them to do it, but they're playing fast and loose with our American way of government. They aren't letting you have a voice. They think that they have all the answers. You let us know, and we'll talk about it. You get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And whether you want that or you want to get on an advisory commission, get a hold of us.
Okay, wait a minute. So how many Teamsters was it? I'm the son of a Teamster and a grandson. How many Teamsters does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
Well, one, but you got to take a break first.
Word.
All right. Go on with your... Tell everybody they got to get to work.
We might get canceled before we get to episode 100. I don't know. We've got it all lined up. It's going to be great if we ever get to air it. All right. That's a good thing, I guess, about owning your own podcast. We will be back a week from today with episode 100, and it has been a pleasure serving y'all in this state for the last 99 episodes plus. The last 10 years we have been doing this. We have loved, not all of it, but we love what we're doing enough to keep doing it no matter what the ballot box says. So we will come back. Don't you go anywhere. We love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.